Welcome inside Genesis Place as we get set for action between the Rockyview Silvertips and the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels, this being game number 10 of 10 of the round robin. The Rebels, it's a simple win and you're in. We will be back right after the national anthem. Once again, if you're just tuning in, welcome inside Genesis Place in Airdrie as we get set for action between the Rockyview Silvertips and the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels in game 10 of 10 of the round robin. My name is Keenan, bringing you all the play-by-play, joined in the broadcast booth by Muhammad, who's got the color for you. Mo, what are you looking forward to coming into this game where the Rebels are in a win and you're in situation?
I think it's vital for the Rebels to come out early and take control of the game. You don't want to give the Silvertips any reason to play as hard as they possibly can here. They're out of it. They're playing out the string. They are the hosts. You know they want to finish with pride. They're a team that's had a good season, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. But if you're the Rebels, you got to start fast, play your game, get out in transition, get a lead, and play from a position of strength here.
Well, the Rebels will definitely be looking to get that after this last game that just ended about an hour ago. The Mavericks taking the loss to the Blizzard 4-3, but it doesn't matter at 3-1. And a high enough goal share percentage, they have booked their ticket into the finals. And we'll see in just 60 minutes whether it be the Rebels heading to the finals and joining them, or if the Blizzard won't be heading on the bus back to Winnipeg just yet, as the Silvertips win the opening draw. And out on the far side and running it in quickly with it was Nate Shabak, and there's now already a Silvertip down on the ground 19 seconds into this, and it's not a good sign if you're the Silvertips. It's not good. He's not moving too much, but hopefully everything's okay there. Well, Mo, coming into this one, the Rebels sit currently 2-1. The Silvertips haven't had any chances and end up 0-3 so far in this tournament. What do you think went wrong for the Silvertips in this tournament?
I don't, like I had talking in, to a few people, I know that they relied heavily on McDonough. He was so strong to start the year. And, I don't think you can ask your goaltender to play to that level. That sort of tapered off a little bit. I thought that their power play against the Mavericks had a chance to win them the game there. Kind of let them down a little bit. They've been in a lot of, in a couple of these games, but those smaller or those finer details of the game is sort of what has set them back, and close, but just not quite there.
And good to see the Silvertips player now up. If my eyes don't deceive me, that was Chase Penner, who was down on the ground there. I believe I see a number 6 on his jersey, so good to see him up and moving. Hopefully everything's all right there. Didn't quite catch what happened on that play, but it looks like he went down pretty hard.
And the Silvertips, I think I spoke about it off the top. Yes, they're out, and yes, it's a deflating feeling, but they have a chance to essentially knock a team out of the running for the Founders Cup, and when you're losing, you want to drag everybody you can with you.
Absolutely. So we'll see if the Silvertips can play spoiler as this game goes on. Now the Rebels working it around the outside. Currently ball sitting in the close side corner. Running it up to the top. And now a cross pass that was intended for Eastwood missed his stick and picked up by teammate. And a nice shot on net by Baker. And an easy save for goaltender McDonough. Silvertips gaining possession of it, running it back through the middle.
I think Simonson probably could have stepped into that a little bit more. He kind of just put it on net like he was trying to get the reset, but he had an opportunity there to really hammer one, try to score there.
Silvertips taking a hard shot from the outside as Jared Norris. It just hits the shoulder of McGilvery and throws it into the far side corner. And now Silvertips do retain possession, and bobbling that was Cole Peterson. This ball now sits on the close side corner, and now the Rebels on a fast break here, looking forward to Scrimshaw, and Scrimshaw just can't quite solve McDonough.
That was a beautiful pass by Simonson. He's sent a few of those up in this tournament, led Scrimshaw perfectly. Big stop there by McDonough.
It's Norris now with it on the close side, just on the outside of the circle, now looking for a passing lane, finds one at the top, and a shot that hits the chest right in the crest of McGilvery. Now the Rebels trying to get it out, and bobbled enough that Cole Twite is going to pick that up, and Twite circles back around, comes just outside, and pass across to the far side half boards and bring it in, and a hard shot just ripped wide for Zach Collin. Silvertips bring it in, and cutting in with that one, just a easy pad save for McGilvery. Didn't really have to work for that one, and the Rebels going to regain that, and maybe now potentially a 2-on-1 situation, and just dropping that off for Reese Walsh.
It was good second effort there by Zorniak. He initially had that ball go out of his reach, but he knocked it back and able to get the ball back for the Rebels.
Now the Rebels trying to work it around the outside and finally getting it in. Ripping one home! Jackson Baker put it on the board. The Rebels draw first blood just over 2.5 minutes into this one.
Jackson Baker, if you know anything about Jackson Baker's game, you know he can absolutely rip the ball. That was from well out, and when his shot is on, it does a really nice job of pulling the defense, because they have to honor that shot, pulling them apart, and it often will open up lanes to cut inside for his teammates. And so that's a good sign for the Rebels for his first shot to go in like that.
Great job by the Rebels as Simonson takes the opening draw and gets thrown all the way down deep into Silvertips territory on the far side corner. And the Rebels do work their way out of that one. Nice successful job there as the ball finds its way to McKenzie. Seth McKenzie, a name that you've heard quite a bit in this tournament so far. As McAdam passes it off, and a nice shot from outside by Barrett. Barrett got thrown out of the last game for a couple misconducts, but good to see him back in this one, and nothing else coming of that.
We've seen McDonough get beat a few times like that. It's been of a common theme to the far side from distance, and that's what Baker did a good job of, extending his stick out, getting it past the body of the defender.
Baker with it now, ripping another one, and McDonough's shoulder save that I thought maybe went into the netting, but the refs are going to say no as that bounced off the glass, and now we have a bit of a scrum for it, and Silvertips going to come away with it on the close side. Mondragon with it, passes it off. It was intended for Montgomery, didn't find his stick, and the Rebels going to come away with it. A lot of missed pass opportunities so far for the Silvertips. That's probably going to come back to bite them later on in this game.
Yeah, you got to value the ball a little bit more than they have. They've come out with some energy, though, so it doesn't look like they're going to lie back and let the Rebels, have their way here.
This is the Rebels passing it around the outside, and Eastwood brings it in, and a low shot. Easy save. Now the Silvertips going to move it back in transition. This is DeGroot. Holds it, passing off, goes for a change of his own, and almost runs into his teammate by accident, Norris. Norris holding it, looking for a lane to pass to. He doesn't find one. He's covered nicely. He does find one, and on the pass, they're going to award it to the Rebels.
Got to say, I like the head of Norris's stick. It's a bright red. Looks pretty sharp.
Renault gained that pass and passed it off immediately as Baker walks in, a pass behind the net. Looking for an outlet pass, finds Eastwood. Eastwood winds up and fires, and that one goes wide. Second chance opportunity for McKenzie. And a nice job by McDonough to read that play. Keep this a 1-0 game.
Really nice shrug of the shoulders there by McDonough. An already big guy making himself bigger. Biggest stop or most important stop of the game to this
It's now out to Schroeder. He passed it off at some point there. And shot from the outside. That one from Nickel. And another easy save from McGilvery. Hasn't really been tested as now. There's an opportunity for a fetch, and he gets leveled right in the zone. He's slow to get up, and now another Silvertip down on the ground who's slow to get up. And they both get up simultaneously. It's almost like we're watching Olympic synchronized swimming on that one. So the Rebels looking to regain this from the Silvertips. On the outside with it is Norris. Norris passes off. Couple passes around the outside, finds its way back into the stick of Schroeder. Schroeder getting some nice coverage there from Bajma. Schroeder just can't solve him, and the ball knocked loose now. And that's going to do it for the 30-second shot clock.
Yeah, it looked like Schrader got away with a little bit of a free hand there, but the Rebels stayed relentless on D and forced the violation.
So now the Rebels moving back with it. And an opportunity on the inside and a nice attempt there from McAdam. And he just can't quite tuck it in on the far side like he intended to.
That was an awesome attempt there by McAdam. He was caught on the wrong side of the floor and still got a good opportunity.
The Silvertips on a 3-on-2 opportunity. And again, another pass that just didn't find its target. And that's going to do an odd man opportunity. No good for them. It's the Rebels now passing it around and finds its way to Simonson, who's going to slow it down a little bit at the top and pass on to the close side. Looking for Simonson down low, and Simonson almost had that. It looked like it went in and fell out of his stick as there's a Rebel that goes down off the play. And we're going to have our first penalty call of this game, and it's going to go to the Silvertips.
Yeah, a little bit of a break here as the Rebels are going to be the beneficiary of some undisciplined play behind the play. The Rebels right now, they need to start moving the ball a little bit quicker. I think they get into trouble sometimes of holding it a little too long. Some of their front gate guys, they got to share the ball, and when they're at their best, that ball's moving a lot quicker than it is right now.
Now the Rebels passing around the outside, looking to set something up on this power play. This Baker looks to be quarterbacking this one as he winds and fires, and McDonough with the save and just drops that as that hit him around the crest area.
You've seen a couple of shots now by Baker since the goal to the short side. McDonough shutting that off. It's been, like I said, to the far side where he got his first goal, where you can typically catch him.
McDonough doesn't want to make the same mistake twice on that one as his Silvertips teammates of Norris trying to find his way inside. He can't, so he circles back and dishes one off to Montgomery, who's now on the far side corner. Winds up and fires, and another easy save for McGilvery. McGilvery hasn't really been tested too much early in this one. I mean, I know we're just over 7 minutes in, but he hasn't really had to face many high-danger shots yet.
No, the Rebels doing a good job of closing off the middle of the floor. A lot of turnovers by the Silvertips have limited their opportunities.
So Rebels behind the net, pass out, and now finds its way back to Baker with still another 57 seconds of power play time remaining, and winding and firing as Eastwood right into the pads of McDonough.
See if the Rebels can start getting a little bit of movement, more movement on their power play. They're settling for sort of like that direct pass from top to shooter and shot right now. Saw them do that a little bit too much against the Shamrocks too. I want to see a little bit more action into the middle of the floor for them.
The Silvertips short-handed still for another 30 seconds. They got 5 seconds on their shot clock. They're going to get one onto McGilvery through traffic, and McGilvery, I mean, again, not a very high-danger opportunity, but makes an easy save on that to keep this a 1-0 ball game.
Sort of a low-octane start to this one. Quieter in the arena, a little less intense, kind of a weird feeling right now. Maybe a little bit of nerves on the Rebels side. We'll see.
Definitely interesting to note. It doesn't seem like there's too many Silvertips fans in the building right now. I mean, I understand being a little bit maybe down that you're 0-3 as the Rebels try and get a shot off before the expiry and they don't get one. But I know you're 0-3 in this tournament, but you would still hope that there would be a few more Silvertips fans in the building, as we seem to be kind of crowded by Rebels fans inside here.
Yeah, and by the same token, Rebels fans doing a good job of coming out to support their team here as they look to book their ticket into the final. Should note that a Rebels win puts them into the final where they would face the Mavs. If they lose, it's a Mavs Blizzard final.
The Silvertips trying to do their job of getting that ball out on the scrum on the far side corner that the Rebels do come away with as Baker winds and fires. And the Rebels doing a nice job of winning these scrims along the boards. And, you know, I don't know if that's just more experience on their side, as the Silvertips seem to be kind of a bit of a younger group in this tournament.
I don't think that if you're the Rebels, you don't want to be playing the tentative sort of style that's going on right now. The longer the Silvertips stay in this, the more dangerous and a little more nerve-wracking it gets, obviously, for the Rebels.
There's now ball loose in the far side corner, and a couple guys going for it here, and referee is going to award it to the Rebels now. It's now a pass up through the center for Renault as he walks it across the half and gives it off to Dylan Puck. Well, Scrimshaw, and then, or Simonson, and then Puck, but had me fooled even. Rebels now, Simonson looked to do maybe a little bit of a wrist shot as he now gets on his second opportunity there, and Silvertips going to move it back right to left. Silvertips wearing the black with the red and white trim, and the Rebels wearing white with the red and black trim. I mean, basically the same colors here, but opposite color schemes. As now we get our first media break, our first break past the 10-minute mark of this one. Well, explore Fort Saskatchewan, discover a place where family fun meets opportunity. Visit their historic downtown, scenic parks, and River Valley. Work in a thriving community and play where every moment is memorable. Visit, work, and play in Fort Saskatchewan. That Vimy Lacrosse excellence is the standard, led by some of the province's most decorated and experienced instructors. They're dedicated to molding well-rounded student athletes. Vimy Lacrosse is a fusion of sport, academics, and personal growth. Unleash your potential today at Vimy Lacrosse and explore the academy by visiting vimyedmonton.ca/lacrosse.
So now, after this immediate timeout, the Rebels will take possession. Well, let's see if they can establish more of an offensive rhythm. It's been a little bit disjointed to start this game, 10 minutes in now. It's not really early stages anymore. I think it's time that the Rebels, I know it's the second game of the day, but the Silvertips also having played already. I think the Rebels got to get a little bit more juice into their game right now.
Absolutely, as McKenzie's going to get it restarted out of this media break for the Rebels. Rebels working around the outside. Simonson off to Eastwood on the far side, finds its way back to Simonson as we're back 5-on-5 now, and a shot from the outside for Simonson just drops right into McDonough's stick.
Silvertip side of things.
There's a quick shot opportunity there from Montgomery streaking in.
Yeah, and the Silvertip side of things, I think they're sort of in the same boat. I think in this tournament they've settled for a lot of outside looks, non-dangerous areas of the floor. I think they need to get their inside game working if they're going to win this game here tonight.
Simonson now holds it, being covered. A little spin move to get shaken off there with Pook coming in and laying a bit of a pick there. As now the Rebels have 5 seconds to make something happen. They've got to get at least one off. They do. It hits a defender, though. And that's going to do it and give the Silvertips now their next possession.
A real stalemate here in the early going.
As Cole Dwight gets knocked down, trying to drive his way through two defenders going in. And the Rebels are going to come away with that. As now pushing his way through three defenders, trying to get a shot off with Scrimshaw. He doesn't get it, but he's holding it very nicely with a lot of coverage.
So you can see the shot clock all the way down at 10 now. The Rebels just holding the ball too long.
The Rebels in this tournament so far have really gone for, I feel like, quantity over quality. Is now Scrimshaw gets knocked down off the play. There's no penalty forthcoming. I definitely thought they were going to give some sort of call there, but this referee decides otherwise.
I think Scrimshaw sold that.
As now one of the Rebels goes down right in front of us. That one being Zorniak, and they're going to award that to the Rebels off of that one. As now bringing it through centers, Renault drops it off for Simonson. Simonson now, close side corner, looking to find his way through traffic, and I think he was trying for a high pass and a second chance opportunity for McKenzie just off the crossbar. Rebels are going to be wanting that one back as the Silvertips are going to walk away with that one, and that was a beautiful play by the Rebels to get a quick 1-2.
Yeah, McKenzie, a couple of steps, or a couple of shots right on the doorstep early in this one. The first one, McDonough shrugs up, gets it. This one, the pipe took it away from him.
The Silvertips winding, firing from the outside as Peterson, as he gets knocked off his balance a little bit, but the Silvertips going to retain possession. Nice job by them as Norris fires and scores! Jared Norris gets the Silvertips on the board and ties this game at ones.
Yeah, Norris loves that outside rip. Stepped into it, transferred his weight really nicely, got a lot on that. The placing of it wasn't the greatest, but it somehow got through McGilvery's legs between, I think, probably a stick in his leg, and it's even at one.
Now heading to the dot, Fraser Barrett and Zach Levin. As they'll get things restarted for their respective clubs. The Rebels, loose ball still, but in the Rebels side, and the ball ends up in the Rebels bench. And they are going to award it to the Silvertips, saying it went off a Rebels player into their own bench.
Yeah, urgency has to be the word right now for the Rebels. Again, I just think that they've come out too tentatively here. Offense, not moving the ball fast enough.
As the Silvertips passing their way around the outside, as Shabak gets a shot off and way high and ends up right in the stick of Norris. Looking for his second now as we're closing in on the latter stages of this period, and now there's going to be a high sticking call coming up to the Rebels, and I believe that's going to be Scrimshaw, who's going to sit two in the sin bin. They're going to call him for cross-checking.
Yeah, not Scrimshaw's best moment there. Just decided to take an extra shot and got called for it. The ref sort of saw it out of the side or the corner of his eye. So it'll be a Silvertip power play. And again, you know, the Rebels kind of playing with fire here.
Sometimes it's not that first one, but sometimes it's those subsequent ones or the retaliation that they'll call. As now the Silvertips get their first power play look of this game, and a quick shot from the outside by Norris, and the Rebels are just going to pick that up easily off the rebound. As now running it in is Reese Walsh, and Walsh on the close side corner now. There's a lot of fans. I'm kind of losing track of the action here, but I see there's a couple of Silvertips right on him, and a bit of a loose ball. We'll see if the referee calls it down here. Now 3 Silvertips and 2 Rebs, and that ball is going to just get sent right over to the Silvertips bench. And the Silvertips going to move back right to left.
Another element that makes the Silvertips very dangerous is they do have a netminder that can steal a game, and in a one-and-done scenario like this is for the Rebels, that can be a little disconcerting.
So Silvertips passing around the outside, looking for a lane, getting a low shot is Norris, and dropping down on it's McGilvery. As McGilvery is just going to yeet it down the floor, and a pass that was intended for Vetch misses his stick, and McDonough is going to come up with it. It would have been funny if McDonough tried to throw it right back down. Maybe McGilvery and McDonough will have a bit of a back-and-forth hot potato. As now the Silvertips moving it in quick. Norris, low shot again, and maybe a second chance for the Silvertips, but the Rebels doing a nice job defensively to cut off any breathing room that the Silvertips may have had there on that possession.
That was a big save by McGilvery. That one was nicely placed there by Norris to the far side. McGilvery sort of dipped down with his far leg.
As Eastwood strips the ball from McDonough and looks for a shot, and he gets one down low, and McDonough drops on it. That was an interesting little set of plays behind the net there. There's a bit of a stick thrown up high, and they're just going to award that to the Rebels.
Man, I can't stress enough how good Eastwood is at that, is causing havoc inside the other team's zone, creating turnovers. Even if he doesn't, he makes it so hard for them and wastes a lot of shot clock.
As now Eastwood holds that one over by the Silvertips bench, getting coverage right now from Cam Fuster. As Fuster throwing a couple sticks in, trying to knock it loose from Eastwood. Eastwood, little switch back, as now Rebels go back 5-on-5 as Eastwood cuts in and gets a low shot, and saved by McDonough. A couple Silvertips were there just to ensure that nothing was going to slip past them.
The Silvertips breakdown there. Eastwood just went underneath 2 defenders like they weren't even there. Not a great defensive segment there.
As Norris cuts in quickly, and he's smothered by Zorniak, shoving him behind the net, and now Norris has to go to plan B here as he passes out to the outside for Nickel, and Nickel, a pass, I believe that was intended for Shabak, just misses him, and now the Rebels going to move it back left to right. Rebels trying to get something set up and get into the zone with 20 seconds to go, into a little fake pass that ends up finding its way back to Baker. Baker's going to stop up, wait for the reinforcements. Baker winding up, firing, and hit the face mask, I believe that was, of McDonough. It's the Silvertips on a fast break opportunity here, and tucking one home will be Cole Dwight. And man, if you're the Rebels, now you're down by 1 against the Silvertips club that's gone 0-3 in this tournament in a win and you're in situation.
Couldn't quite tell if that ended up going between the feet of McGilvery or short side by his foot, but either way, that's a tough one to give up if you're the Rebels. And now you find yourself down here late in the period. Again, I think right now it starts with their offense. The ball is staying on one side of the floor. You're often seeing possessions where there's 12 seconds by the time they have all 5 guys on the floor for offense. And that's something that's got to change.
The Silvertips win the ensuing draw, and it's going to go into the far side corner. Rebel knocked down on it, and now driving his way in was Dunbar Corenda. And the Rebels are going to come away with that one as McAdam runs it through center. Now he's going to be smothered by 3 Silvertips defenders. The Rebels have about 3 minutes to try and get one back and maybe head into this intermission with this game tied or them up, as the Rebels just can't quite seem to get any shots through quality-wise, and that's another shot from Pook from the outside that just seemed like a routine save for McDonough. So Rebels, ball now on the far side half boards, pass cross. Now a second chance, that one low for Pook and misses the net completely and ends up in the Rebels bench.
No, Keenan, we should mention, I haven't seen him in the lineup here at all. I don't see him on the bench, haven't seen him on the floor. Jackson Kohut, who has been huge for the Rebels, scored a few, I think he scored the winner earlier today. He's got a number of goals here for the Rebels in the tournament. I don't see him in the lineup here tonight.
Kohut has definitely been the lifeblood of this team, scoring 5 goals last night to lead them to that victory over, I believe it was the Blizzard. As now Silvertips get an opportunity and they pick up their own rebound, as now Norris holds it with 2 minutes closing in on in this first frame of this one. There's a pass that was going to Mason Schroeder, misses him as he gets covered, and ball ends up all the way back with McDonough. It's going to be called an over and back, so it's going to be Rebels possession.
Yeah, and especially in a game that looks like it's likely to be lower scoring. You missed that shot from Kohut, and he's been doing a very good job of also driving the net too, and creating opportunities.
As off the play, Rebels are going to take a penalty as Dylan Pook shoves down Cole Tweet just outside the circle. And now the Silvertips are going to go back on the power play.
Yeah, some unfortunate penalties if you're a Rebel here. I think aside from what I've already talked about, discipline probably something that needs to get cleaned up here as we move along.
So now the Silvertips going to get it restarted here. There's going to be about a 7-second separation, so if they don't score in this period, it's going to be 7 seconds of power play time to start the second. The Silvertips get a nice shot on the outside, picking up their own rebound on the far side. Norris at the top quarterbacking as he misses the net completely, and Reese Walsh with the pickup of the rebound, and he's just going to send that one really far down, and it just stays really out of the reach of McAdam, and the Silvertips are going to regain possession on that fumble from the Rebels.
Yeah, lacrosse is a sport about rhythm and flow, especially on offense. Yeah, that's what needs to be established right now for the Rebels. Even though they're shorthanded, that was just a forced pass.
Now the Silvertips on the far side boards finds his way to Norris at the top, and Norris tucks another one home for his second of the game. 3-1 Silvertips lead.
Now that was an absolute rocket from Norris. He has done a good job here of changing his shot up. I felt earlier in the tournament he was shooting too much to the 5-hole. And in this game, he's already got one to the far side. Now a riser up high into the top of the net. That was a bullet. One of the better shots I've seen him take all weekend. And
absolutely
great shot.
Fantastic shot. And I was going to say I wouldn't be able to stop that if I was a goalie, but like I've never played sports in my life, so I wouldn't be able to stop that anyway. As the Silvertips get knocked down with it is Fuster, but he holds it through like 4 or 5 different attempts, and now getting knocked down off it, and the Rebels are going to gain possession with 47 seconds to play in this first period. As now Rebels cross pass with McKenzie. McKenzie slowing it down. He's got 38 seconds left in this game, 18 seconds on the shot clock, so we're looking at about a 21-second separation as the Rebels, a pass that I believe may have been intended for Baker. He misses, but he picks it up anyway as shot clock drops down to 7. Simonson winds up, and now Eastwood winds up and fires, and that is going to do it for the shot clock as there's 19 seconds left in this period, and the Rebels do retain possession of it as cutting very close to the line. Simonson keeps it onside. 10 seconds to go. The Rebels got to make something happen fast here, and hard shot that just hit somebody by McAdam ends up in the netting, and they're going to say it went off of a Silvertip, and now they got 3 seconds to make one happen. It was intended for Baker, and the ball is just going to miss everybody. End up in the far side corner, and that's where we're going to sit after 20. Silvertips going to lead 3-1 heading in to the first intermission.
Yeah, I know, Keenan, I kind of noticed and picked up on it right from the start, just a tentative sort of feeling to the game. The Rebels look a little bit complacent. They're going to have to, I know it's difficult. I mean, all these teams have played so many games in the last 48 hours, but, you know, their lives are on the line here. They got to find everything they have to bring a little bit more energy. Their offense has to get established. It really did not get established at all throughout that period. That's got to be the catalyst, and if they can get their offense going a little bit and, you know, generate confidence that way, I think everything else will follow.
Absolutely, and we'll see what the Rebels can do as we get into the second frame. Coming up shortly here on CROW LAX TV, my name is Keenan. Thank you for joining us. For my broadcast partner, Mohammed, we will see you for the second right here on CROW. Welcome back inside Genesis Place in Airdrie as we get set for second period action in Game 10 of the round robin between the Rockyview Silvertips and the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels. On one hand, you have the Silvertips 0-3, just playing for pride at this point, and the Rebels on the other side, well, this game means a lot to them as it's a win and you're in, but after 20, they trail 3-1 to the Silvertips.
Yeah, and again, the key word I think right now for the Rebels is just urgency, right? I mean, you know that you know what you are at this point in the season. They're a team that can score a few different ways, but right now, you know, their offense is too compacted. The ball is staying on one side of the floor, so on the left side or the right side, they're not swinging it. There isn't much action into the middle, off-ball cuts, not much sealing down to open up shots from up top. They just got to get into some type of offensive rhythm, and from there, you know, I think things will start to happen for them.
So Silvertips will win the opening draw of period number 2 from here inside the Shane Holmes Arena in Genesis Place. The Silvertips just looking to win at least one in this tournament, spoil the dreams of the Rebels for their trip to the Founders, potentially, is taking a shot from the outside. I believe was Mason Schroeder, but an easy save for McGilvery as the Rebels are going to move back right to left in this one. Silvertips moving left to right.
Next goal.
As per normal, we switch sides.
I was just going to say next goal in this game's paramount.
As the Rebels get a nice opportunity on the inside from Davin Bajema. The next goal in this game, you're right, will determine a lot for the rest of this one, and that will be the turning point of this game because you're either down by 1 or you're down by 3 as the Silvertips rip one from the far side and it goes wide and all the way back down to Caden McDonough of the Silvertips.
Yeah, especially in a game that I would say 8 probably wins this, if not 7. So, you know, in a tighter game, in a lower scoring game, goals become that much more important.
As the Rebels pass to the inside and a behind the back shot from Fraser Barrett that didn't really go anywhere, just kind of found floor more than anything, and ball's going to go into the far side corner, awarded back to the Rebels. Now Simonson's going to wind up.
Maybe a bit of a break for the Rebels. I think that one's straight out off the floor.
As the Rebels moving it around the outside, and Fraser Barrett was looking for Baker in the middle, and the Silvertips are going to pick up that fumbled ball and getting a little bit of a push from Pook there.
See right there, the Rebels had a chance to double. Silvertips slow onto the floor, and the Rebels retreated, and now the Silvertips are allowed to set up.
So Silvertips wind up and fire from the outside of Shabak, and that misses. That catches everything except net.
And again, I know how hard this is. I've done it before. Never had to do it at junior, but as a kid, playing 2 games in consecutive days like they have in a day is tough.
As now the Rebels had an opportunity that went wide, and now ball loose, picked up by the Silvertips, and it's going to be a 2-on-2 opportunity, and now cutting off, it's going to be a 1-on-3, and somehow, some way, Cole Twite gets his second of the game to put the Silvertips up by 3.
And just on that point, I guess 4 games in 48 hours, but essentially the same thing, as that was a fast break, good job by the Silvertips of getting up and going, no hesitation. And that goal we talked about does go the Silvertips' way, and now it has to be pedal to the metal for the Rebels. Everything that they possibly can garner up has to come to fruition right now.
Well, the Silvertips are doing a nice job of asserting their dominance against the Rebels, who have looked quite dominant throughout this entire tournament. But again, one thing that we have noticed is missing on the bench is Jackson Kohut, and allegedly is injured as the Rebels run it in, and just like that, they gain one back as Seth McKenzie gets the second one for the Rebels.
That's a damn clutch goal by Seth McKenzie. Guy in his 3rd year at junior, really stepped up to the plate for the Rebels this year, has been a difference maker, one of the more improved players in the North Division and really the league, with the most important goal of the Rebels season to date right there.
Now the Rebels only trailing by 2 yet again. Unfortunately, that doesn't get them into the final, but the Rebels are going to win the next draw as Davin Bajema runs it in, and he's going to run off for a change and just drops that off for Eastwood, as Eastwood is going to wait and let his guys set up, cross pass, and winding and firing is Baker, and easy save McDonough, and McDonough is going to send it down, and now the Silvertips might try and get another fast break opportunity here, is backing into his man, and was Nate Shabak.
Rebels also a team historically that is very good at coming back. They don't wilt. No matter what the score is, they have a tendency to be able to claw their way back in. And if you're a Rebel, you're hoping that that's the case again.
As now the Silvertips get a shot from the far side, and being rubbed out behind the net was Jared Norris, who has been the star for the Silvertips so far. So the Silvertips are going to cut a pass there, and just knocking it loose enough, it's Matthew Vetch. As he's going to pick that one up, and now he's being covered by 3 Silvertips as he's driven hard into his own boards there, and he was able to get a pass away just in time for McAdam before he really lost it, and a low shot that just kind of went on the ground from McKenzie. It didn't really find anything but pad.
Yeah, a little bit quicker out the gate there, which helped them. You'll see that in the second period. Teams that can fly out of the gate, get the ball up to the floor, because your O gate is so close to the opposing net. Big advantage in the transition game.
So Silvertips now winding and firing from the outside, and looked like it missed the net once again. And now the Silvertips a pass that was intended for Montgomery missed him, and that's going to be an over and back. So it is going to be Rebels ball now with 16:10 to play in the second. As now McBride brings it in, passes it off for Barrett. Barrett looking to find his way around his man. He gets a pick set by McAdam and passes over to Simonson on the outside. Now a one-time opportunity for McAdam, missed the net.
Pretty nice closeout there by the Silvertips. That looked like DeGroot taking time and space away. Didn't give McAdam much room to quick stick that.
As Colt White does take a shot there and knocks a guy down behind the net, so they're going to award it to the Rebels. And that was a nice job by Twite to read that play and at least get a shot off and on net. So now the Rebels going to pass it around in the middle, let guys get their change off, as Eastwood is going to hold that one now, being covered by Nickel. He's going to find his way past him.
Ball in Eastwood's stick a little too long there again.
It's 10 seconds left on their shot clock, but finding his way into the back of the net, Dylan Pook put one on the board for him. He's cut that lead to 1.
Well, maybe Eastwood heard me because he swung the ball to Pook, who did a nice job of arching up over the 24 and released it back to the short side. Excellent shot by Pook, who came up massive. Like, I don't know if a lot of people realize, but Dylan Pook was healthy scratched quite a bit, but earlier today he came up with a massive game, got player of the game against the Shamrocks in the game they had to have, and now he gets a goal they had to have.
And that's going to be an important one as this game progresses, as the Rebels try to mount a comeback as the ball still loose off the draw, and finally the Rebels are going to get some sort of sustained possession here.
Too deliberate here. Like, look how long this takes.
And Eastwood now with it. Like, they're only at the, if there was ice in here, they're only at the blue line with still 19 seconds left on their shot clock. So, 11 seconds for that. Is now winding and firing from the outside is Baker, and a hard shot that was taken by Twite. Chase Twite, I should say. There's a couple Twites on that team.
Yeah, just settling a little, just too much, too lackadaisical here. They got to find it, everything that they have to just be a little bit more, skip the ball a little faster, get it swung across the top, and get their off-ball game clicking.
As Brunton gives it to Shabak, and now Shabak trying to find his way around, and now ball out to the far side, and currently holding it, running it into the center, 7 seconds on the shot clock, and taking a shot from the outside, Mason Schroeder, that hit a defender in front. The Silvertips going to get possession of that as the ball ends up in the netting.
Break there for the Silvertips.
Now Silvertips back on the outside, far side half boards with it. Norris being covered by Johnson. Pick gets set that gets Johnson off of him, and a pass off, and a secondary pass that was intended for Nickel missed him, but Nickel is able to pick that one up, keep possession for the Silvertips as they get a shot off with 3 seconds left. And jumping into that one was McGilvery, but they are going to have their 30-second shot clock expire.
Yeah, you know what, the Rebels playing, for as much as I've sort of criticized their offense here in this specific game, their defense has stepped up to the plate, especially here in the second period. The Silvertips, a lot of their goals have been from well out, and the defense deserves a lot of credit for that.
As now the Rebels had a quick opportunity there, and a low shot from Dylan Pook looking for his second of this game. Nice save by McDonough to keep this one with the Silvertips up by 1 as it gets sent up on the close side boards.
Huge save there by McDonough, especially after the Rebels had narrowed this down to 1.
Now looking for a shot there was Cole Peterson cutting in that went just a little bit wide, and Silvertips are going to regain their own rebound, as running behind the net with it is Jared Norris. He finds Isaac Nickel in front, and Nickel is able to tuck it in far side on McGilvery. They extend their lead back to 2 with 13-17 to play in the second.
Yeah, Nickel slipped inside. Nobody had him. He kind of curled in behind everyone and was able to fire it home low on about hip high on McGilvery.
And we'll see what the Rebels can do to remount that comeback. They did a nice job there for that period. We were able to score 2 in pretty quick succession from one another. But it wasn't quite enough to come back all the way, as we still do have quite a ways to go in this contest.
Talked about that save that was just made down here by McDonough on Pook right in front of the net. Seen that a lot in this tournament. Swan's done it a lot for the Mavericks. They're able to come right back down and score.
As McAdam drives in pretty hard and doesn't make a very high danger shot there on McDonough, and a couple guys go into the boards on the close side. No penalties forthcoming on that. So now the Silvertips passing it around on the outside. Once again with Norris on the far side. Norris cuts in, low shot, save McGilvery, and ball loose. And McGilvery is going to pick up that loose ball.
Yeah, definitely no penalty there, but I thought it would be a possession call there. Way off the ball, the Rebel got driven into the boards.
He's now bringing it in is Renault. And Renault passing off that almost missed the stick of Simonson. Nice job by Simonson to extend and pick up that pass. As now Baker passes into the middle as McAdam gets a shot as he kind of dives, and a second chance opportunity by McKenzie, no good.
Yeah, McKenzie on the doorstep again, that had the top, really the open net, and missed it.
As McAdam grabbed that one for a second, knocked loose pretty quick from him, as the Silvertips now deep into Rebels territory. As they're going to pass it around the outside. The Rebels, when they get into the zone, they don't seem to be able to keep it for too long, especially they're having some struggles, I feel, in the neutral zone, just trying to get that one back into the Silvertips zone as the Silvertips take a shot that goes a bit wide.
Big save there by McGilvery. Shot to the short side, got his arm over. Nice two-man here.
As a couple players go down in front, and taking a low, hard shot is Jared Norris. Now there's a bit of pushing and shoving in front. We'll see if anything comes of it as guys start to converge on one another a little bit. Referees could be in there to break up the action, and we're going to have a couple of penalties called here. Looks like we're going to get coincidental minors. As I know, some people have said this referee, she really likes to call the coincidentals in this whole tournament.
Yeah, so we got 4-on-4 here, which will open up the floor. And obviously when you're 4-on-4, you have two-man games on either side. You can work it on ball or off ball. And again, I talked about it a little earlier. The Rebels started a little bit over the last couple of shifts to get their off-ball game going. Pook cut to the net, and McAdam on that last sequence cut to the net as well off the top. And they generated a couple opportunities that way, so starting to see some signs that they're getting going a little bit. This is a big possession here right now.
Makes you wonder if it just took a little bit for the Rebels to kind of settle into their game against the Silvertips squad that I don't think they quite expected, as the Rebels get a nice job there as Pook drives in and gets a diving shot off just outside of the crease.
Nice little back seal by Baker. He kind of took two guys out of the equation and allowed Pook to run across the net. Big save again by McDonough, who's been pretty important in this one.
And definitely we've seen a lot of 4-on-4 in this tournament, and a lot of goals scored 4-on-4 in this tournament as well. As you feel like that open floor is really working to the advantage of a lot of these teams.
Yeah, especially in a tournament that's been so tight. You know, that little extra open floor, pretty good defensive tournament, it's big.
Is taking a shot hard from the outside was Fraser Barrett, but ends up right in the stick of McDonough, and McDonough is just going to drop that off for Nickel, who's going to pass that off immediately.
I think some of their ball movement issues, the Rebels, are the guys that are bringing it up are stopping and holding it for quite a while instead of moving it right away to the guy off the bench and letting the offense establish something.
Absolutely, and that's working to the detriment as from the outside, Jared Norris getting his hat trick goal already, as it is now 6-3 for the Tips.
Yeah, Norris's outside shot is a problem in this one for the Rebels. His shot, I would say, is much more dialed in tonight than I've seen it in the previous 3 games. And he's changed up his release point. Not everything is sidearm, and he's shooting to other areas of the net as opposed to down by the goalie's feet all the time.
And you know the Silvertips are going to be wondering why Norris didn't do that earlier, especially being 0-3 in this tournament so far. Is now off the drop ball loose, going to be picked up by the Rebels. A Scrimshaw going to try and bring it in, but he was covered quite good by Christian de Groot, and good job by de Groot there to make sure he would smother anything that Scrimshaw may have been able to start. Is now Eastwood bringing it in, and Eastwood steps inside the crease on that one. That's going to go back to the Silvertips.
Yeah, you know, and Eastwood is an incredible player. I've talked at length about him over the course of the last 2 seasons. It just can't be one guy driving to the net, right? The ball stays in his stick, and there's no chance for him to get to the net there.
As now the Silvertips get another shot driving in, and that one by Zachary Collin, as he kind of goes like, arches his back a little bit and tried to do like kind of like a backwards dive almost on that one as we get a media timeout here.
Yeah, so now maybe the media timeout, I would say, comes at a perfect time for the Rebels. You know, you just gave up a couple. You're down again by 3. Time to sort of recollect now. A minute, about roughly a minute to kind of regather yourself. And you know what? You go on another 2-goal run, and guess what? It's back down to 1. Hell, you go on a 3-goal run, you're tied. So, you know, the game's still within reach, but you got to start to see there were some signs on the last few shifts. That's got to continue here over the next few.
Absolutely. We'll explore Fort Saskatchewan, discover a place where family fun meets opportunity, visit their historic downtown, scenic parks, and River Valley, work in a thriving community, and play where every moment is memorable. Visit, work, and play in Fort Saskatchewan. And at Vimy, lacrosse excellence is the standard, led by some of the province's most decorated and experienced instructors. They're dedicated to molding well-rounded student athletes. Vimy Lacrosse is a fusion of sport, academics, and personal growth. Unleash your potential with Vimy Lacrosse and explore the academy by visiting vimyedmonton.ca/lacrosse. Be sure to head out and watch the Prince Albert Predators, Lakeland Heat, Swift Current Wolverines, Calgary Wranglers, and Southern Alberta Chaos battle to determine who will be crowned this year's McDonald Cup champion. Catch all the action starting August 7th in Brooks, or watch for free on YouTube.
Yeah, McAdam.
So now the Rebels with possession of this. 8 seconds left on the 4-on-4. Currently holding it on the close side corner. Now getting it out to McAdam in front. And McAdam, it looked like he wanted to do a diving shot, but he didn't quite commit all the way to it there.
Yeah, McDonough jumped over. If he had faked far side and just come back to the short, he had a wide open net.
So now the Silvertips holding it on the outside of the circle, looking to cut in. Now finding his way up to the top was Nate Shabak, as the ball goes a little bit loose, but I don't think McGillivray found all of it, as now there's a 1-on-3 opportunity for the Rebels.
Yeah, good job to peel out of there by Renault. There was a couple of guys back. He wasn't getting to the net, and he would have forced a shot if he had tried. So good job. Let's see if the Rebels can establish something here on offense.
Rebels doing a good job of passing it around right now. They got 10 seconds left on their shot clock as we're at 8:45 to play in the second. Rebels, Eastwood picking it up. He's got 5 seconds. He winds and fires, and McDonough makes the easy save as that just ends up right.
Unfortunately, it didn't connect there, but that was much better. Baker slipped into the middle. They tried to hit him. Pass just didn't work out for whatever reason. I couldn't tell if it was behind him or if he just missed it.
So now the Silvertips with it once again. Looking to move his way around the outside. Finds his way around the defender and a pass. That one intended for Cullen. Misses him. And now we got a loose ball opportunity here. And falling on it while trying to gain possession was Riley Longmire. Good job by him to try and commit to that one. But the Silvertips going to come away with it. And that's going to do it for their shot clock, as there's a Rebel down now off ball. I don't know if he got hit kind of after the whistle or what it was there.
Yeah, 8 minutes to go now. Let's see again, like these, you got to put together 3 or 4 quality offensive possessions here if you're the Rebels and see what you can get done. See, again, and finally, you know, Pook moved the ball there.
Well, this isn't the first time the Rebels have been down by 3 in this game, as they get a shot on the inside, and McDonough just coming up with the easy save. It's McDonough trying to cut off Vetch and does a nice job. Opens up a little bit of breathing room there for Josh Brunton as he brings it across center.
And that's not just on, Pook there. The guys around him have to do a better job of moving their feet, right? I think that their off-ball game all game long has been stagnant.
Now the Silvertips getting a shot from the outside. That one by Nickel, and easy save for McGilvery as he barely has to do any work to save that one. Passes off to Vetch, who's going to bring it across center. Vetch holding it, dishing to McAdam. McAdam far side. Is now running into the middle with its Baker. Baker trying to back down on 2 defenders. Elects to circle back instead and lets McKenzie take a shot with the shot clock winding down, and unfortunately that's going to do it for that shot clock opportunity. Be sure to grab those CROW LAX TV 50/50 tickets. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit us on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and X at CROW LAX TV. Get some more information there. Find links to all of our pages and all necessary links that you might need for really anything lacrosse. As now Silvertips retain possession of it. There's going to be a delayed penalty coming up to the Rebels as McGilvery makes a stop, and that's going to do it. There's going to be a cross-checking call coming up to the Rebels.
And it goes without saying, it's a must-kill with the Rebels sort of maybe losing their grip a little bit on this one right now. Their bench looks a little bit dejected right now. Key point in the game to try to grab it back, and you can always do that by gaining some momentum with a kill.
And interesting to note, that's also another penalty to Miller Scrimshaw. That's his second cross-checking of this game. I feel like he's been a little bit undisciplined with his stick in this one. The Silvertips are going to get that one restarted. Silvertips passing around the outside. Norris getting a hard shot down low. Misses the net and ends up back in his stick off the rebound with 6:14 to play in the second. Behind the back pass by Norris that careens off of, I think that was the ankle of Zorniak, and he looked to be in a little bit of pain there, as I'm sure that one stung.
I was just about to say, you could see them shading over to Norris a little bit. They don't want him shooting, and that's smart.
Try and save his weapon as much as they can, as getting a shot that time was Montgomery, and now the Rebels are going to have a partial opportunity here, potentially 2-on-1, and bring it in. And a good job by Walsh, but he didn't quite place it the way he wanted to, as that was a few inches wide of the net. Now we have a bit of a scrum on the close side boards here, fighting for the ball, and there's going to be a holding penalty coming up here to the Silvertips, which is going to negate their power play.
And to this point, I think you got to give a lot of credit to the Silvertips. It would have been easy to sort of say, hey, we're out of it. What does this game matter? But I think also you got to remember there's guys graduating almost off of every team. I don't know specifically how many off the Silvertips, but you kind of owe it to those guys. You want to play for them. It could be their last game ever, right? So there's a lot of things at play, and they're at home, they're hosting. So I think that they're showing a lot of pride here. They deserve a lot of credit for that.
As ripping one in from the outside, Nolan Eastwood, and this is what the Rebels needed, was a guy to just walk in, rip one on net, and hope and pray as Eastwood gets on the board.
Yeah, I think McDonough moved his stick a little bit when he stepped over, and Eastwood was able to find the 5-hole. Now it was an outside shot. They got it to go. Now it was a 4-on-4 look. Let's see if they are able to start to generate a little bit more on the inside of the floor. It's vital.
All it took last time was a single goal for the Rebels, and they mounted a couple to get back within one. Let's see if they can do it again here, as now the Rebels gain possession off the draw, and running it in with Zorniak. Zorniak takes a bit of a stick up high. No penalty forthcoming, though. Fans here letting the referees know that they were a little bit displeased with that, as now the Silvertips gain possession. Move it back left to right. Silvertips on the outside.
There's also a Silvertips team that was first really from start to finish. They actually relinquished it for a split second, and then it ended up getting it back at the end of the season. So they're obviously no slouches, and they're very deserving of being here. I knew this wasn't going to be easy for the Rebels, but we're just talking from a perspective of the team that needs to get in, obviously. Or needs
Absolutely.
to win.
That's a team that went 11-1-0 in their first 12, and then 5-6-1 in their last 12, which is not a good look if you're the Silvertips, unfortunately. But the Rebels aren't going to take the Silvertips lightly, and they may have taken them a bit lighter than they wanted to, as McAdam loses his footing and just shovels that one over to the far side for Baker. Baker takes a shot with the shot clock winding down, and that ends up back in a Silvertip stick as they are going to move it quickly up, as now the Rebels are going to have a power play opportunity for about the next 40 seconds. As the Silvertips just going to try and kill off as much time as they can, currently holding it on the far side.
Yeah, another opportunity where if the double would have come a lot quicker, they probably stripped that, but it was delayed and it wasn't quick. It just didn't happen fast enough.
Now holding it is Shabak as he's going to try and run behind the net. His stick's knocked loose, and somehow, though, it kind of kept the ball in it as the Rebels are going to gain that off of the wall. Now Scrimshaw's going to run it up as Scrimshaw is lightly driven into the boards.
Yeah, good run by Scrimshaw there in transition.
Baker gives it off to McKenzie. McKenzie now pushed down into the ground, ball knocked loose, and now there's going to be a 2-on-2 opportunity for the Silvertips as cutting off it and getting a shot off there is Montgomery as he was fresh out of the box, who made that a 3-on-2, and I didn't even catch Montgomery on that play. The Rebels take a shot from the outside that felt kind of like a lazy shot, like let's just get one on net. The Silvertips bring it back, and on the fast break, Cole Twite puts another one home for his hat trick. 7-4 Tips lead.
Yeah, Barrett had a guy wide open off the bench right out of the gate, decided to take a shot from well out and glassed it. Goes back the other way, and it's in the net.
There's definitely a lazy play from the Rebels if I had to give it a title there. So the Rebels could have easily turned that into a dangerous situation, but instead it comes back to bite them. And the Silvertips are back up by a triple.
You also don't see McGilvery getting beat 5-hole very often. It's happened a few times in this game already.
Definitely some rare occurrences in this one, that's for sure. Is a bit of a stalemate off the draw, and the referee is going to award that to the Rebels. McKenzie passes it off, and quick pass from Baker that was intended for McAdam misses him, and it's going to be picked up by the Tips. The Tips are just going to send it up over the half to beat the 8 seconds. As Mondragon holds it and looking for someone to pass to with 2 Rebels defenders just all over him, and finally finds a passing lane. Tips moving it in now and finding his way past his defender. Saved by McGilvery on Norris. Norris seems to kind of be all over the floor tonight and taking shots from far out, driving his way in. Norris is just an absolute weapon for the Silvertips in this one.
Yeah, he's definitely been a difference maker. I talked about him changing his release points and changing his shot selection, and it's worked out, tenfold for him. He's been a force here.
So now the Rebels get another shot from the outside from Eastwood. That one, though, McDonough had all of. As it's sent down and intended for Nickel, who bobbles it for a second, picks it up, though. Dishing off. Now checking the clock out was Shabak. Sees that there's only 2 minutes to play in the second. Is taking a shot from the outside was Nickel, and an easy save for McGilvery, who's going to send it up to Johnson.
Yeah, Rebels got numbers here. A little slow out of the gate, though.
McAdam, cross pass. Now with Baker. Baker going down low. I think he was trying to go to Simonson, but he didn't find him, and McAdam bobbles it. And now it's going to be the Silvertips moving back the other way. DeGroot brings it in, stops up, cuts back, and passes off. It's now the Silvertips in the close side corner, currently held by Montgomery. It's Montgomery. He's got Vetch all over him. Gets a little bit of assistance, but it's not enough as there's a second defender on him as their shot clock goes down to 6, and getting a shot off there now, Montgomery, and easy save McGilvery, and ball knocked loose there. I think it was knocked loose out of a Rebel stick, actually.
Yeah, well, with a minute to go here, a goal would make a big difference on the feel of it. Down 7-4 as opposed to down 7-5. It's a 1-goal difference, but the feel and the momentum obviously changes a lot with that.
Especially if it's a late goal, too. That gives you all the momentum moving into the third as a pass intended for Fraser Barrett misses him, and it's going to be the Silvertips with it now. In Rebels territory. 36 seconds to play, 14 on the shot clock as they take a shot and don't think it hit anybody, so there's going to be still 8 seconds left on the shot clock. No reset. Ball loose at the moment, so the Silvertips got to make a shot quick here, 2-1. And they do find a way to get one onto McGilvery and pick up the rebound. And ball knocked loose and stick knocked out of the hand, and referee's blowing that one down.
Yeah, that's tough to get a reset from a shot from center. That's what happens there, and the Silvertips are essentially going to be able to kill the rest of the power play here, or the rest of the period.
I believe there was a timeout called on this one. I think it was the Silvertips, and I think the Silvertips are just trying to plan on how they want to approach this. They're going to want to try and go in with that 4-goal lead. And in my opinion, if the Silvertips are going into the third with a 4-goal lead, I don't know if the Rebels can come back from that, scoring 4 goals against the Silvertips team that has looked the most dangerous that they have all tournament long.
Yeah, I know the Silvertips definitely have come out a little differently here. I think that they've done, you know, I already talked about some of their better guys, better shot selection. McDonough has been sharp when he's needed to be, and they've run a little bit better. I thought that they've taken some transition looks away that they haven't in other games, and they've also got their own looks in transition, something I didn't really see them do a whole lot against, especially the Shamrocks early on in the tournament.
The Silvertips checking the clock. Is Mason Schroeder, and now Silvertips going to work their magic here with 4 seconds left in this period, looking to get one on, and they get one on, and it goes just a little bit wide, and that's going to do it for the second period inside the Shane Holmes Arena inside Genesis Place.
So the Rebels well within striking distance, but obviously, you know, not an ideal position to be. We've talked at length about what might be the issue, or, you know, what some of the things that might be going on. We'll see what type of adjustments the staff can make, or I don't even know if it's adjustments at this point, but if they can get through to these guys, or somehow emphasize how important it is to get the ball moving a little quicker, get it swinging it across the top, activate their off ball a little bit more, and really push to the inside of the floor. And you know what? Again, it's lacrosse, 3 goals, very possible. It's definitely an uphill climb at this point, though.
It's an uphill climb, but it is possible, as we've seen it a couple times throughout this tournament round robin. So we'll see what the Rebels can mount heading into the third period. For my broadcast partner, Mohammed, my name is Keenan. Thank you for tuning in to CROW LAX TV. We'll be back with the third. Welcome back inside Shane Holmes Arena from Genesis Place in Airdrie, where we are getting set for third period action between the Silvertips and the Rebels. Rebels currently trailing 7-4 with their season on the line. A win here would send them to the finals against the Mavs. Interesting thing to note, there was still about 3 minutes left of that 10-minute intermission. The Rebels were already out on the floor. They look dialed in. They are ready to overcome this 3-goal deficit.
Yeah, they had a death stare going on from the bench with 2 minutes to go in the intermission. 5 guys set up on the face-off. Let's see if that juice that was sort of missing in the first 2 periods shows up. And then meanwhile, we'll see if the Silvertips can keep playing at the high level they've been playing at.
As the Rebels win the initial draw, and then after a little bit of back and forth here, the Rebels are going to be awarded it afterwards as a Silvertip goes over into the bench in pain. It looked like that was Zach Levin. He's hobbling a little bit on the bench. He'll get looked at by trainer Tara Bissell. So the Rebels now moving around the outside and getting a low shot that goes wide and ends up on the back of the net. Rebels do pick it up off of that. As now Fraser Barrett looks to make something happen, being covered right now by DeGroot. Barrett gets a pass up top to McKenzie. McKenzie, 17 seconds on the shot clock, and a hard shot from Barrett. Second chance opportunity behind the back, and a nice job by Eastwood to almost put that in, and ball's going to be awarded to the Rebels.
Already way better ball movement on that set. They look to be having that jump back in their step. The ball's moving better.
Rebels looking the most alive they have all game so far, especially being down by 3 with that season on the line, and a potential trip to the Founders hanging in the balance for the Mavericks. As now one of the Silvertips goes down off ball, and it's going to be awarded to the Tips.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive there on the moving pick. Silvertips can do a good job of jumping out high and forcing the Rebels to have to make a play there.
As the Silvertips, an absolute missed pass by Mondragon. So that's going to be awarded back to the Rebels, and they're going to get restarted back left to right.
I think you got to give some credit to the coaching staff of the Silvertips having these guys ready and prepared to play for a game that it would have been hard to get up for.
Now the Rebels passing it around the outside. Eastwood has it, and Eastwood drops it down low to Pook. Pook shakes off his man and shoots it low and wide, and a second chance opportunity for Baker. Scores! Jackson Baker cuts the lead down to 2.
Baker does an excellent job. I talked about this earlier with McAdam. He reached like he was going far side, froze McDonough, and came back to the short side. Nice release, nice finish, and Baker has been one of their better players in the game, gets rewarded with his second of the night.
Absolute. Nice job by the Rebels to come out and score early in this third, which I think is really important to mention. 18:23 to go here in the third, and they're able to get one back. Now they only trail by 2, as now they gave possession a 2-on-1 opportunity, and trying to get his McKenzie. McKenzie with a hard shot that goes low and bounces out and into the netting.
Yeah.
To be awarded to the Rebels.
Yeah, it's tough, again, to beat a goalie through the legs like that. I know McGilvery has been beat like that in this game a few times, but it's pretty rare. If that shot is to either post, much better chance to go in.
Baker with it now, looking for his hat trick. He bobbles it and trying to regain possession of it as it bounces up, and he does get it, pass across, and he just throws it right into the netting. I don't think he intended for that, obviously, but unfortunate situation there.
Yeah, if the, obviously a lot of time left in this game, but if the Rebels were to come back and fight through the adversity here, it'd probably be the biggest win and most memorable moment in any of their sports careers to date.
As now Matthew Vetch picks up that fumble from the Silvertips and gets the Rebels back deep into Tips territory, and that's important, is the Rebels, they just have to basically shut down the Tips as fast as they can once they cross the half, and that's going to play an important role in mounting the comeback. Is now looking for a lane as Pook, and Pook finds one, he gets a shot off, and McDonough just drops down and gets the save.
Very good defense until the very end there. They did a good job of taking top side away, and Pook went underneath, but they didn't quite close him off in time to force him to the corner, and he got a good opportunity there, and McDonough with an excellent save.
So now the Tips have it back in Rebels territory. Now being shoved back is Nickel. A nice job by Renault. Tips still get a shot off, but McGilvery with the save, and McGilvery stops it up on a second opportunity, gets it up to Vetch, who's going to walk across the half. It's 3-on-3, 4-on-4 now, as Vetch still holds it, and passing off, and just knocked down as he's jumping up on it was Teach Brown. I don't think Brown actually expected that one.
You don't see Brown get hit, knocked down like that very often. Big guy.
As now the Rebels gain possession of it on the close side. A little spin move from Eastwood, who throws it in backhand and goes a bit wide. And now could be picked up from McAdam before it crosses the half. McAdam passing off to Baker. Baker with it. Looking, finds Pook. Pook across to Eastwood, misses Eastwood's stick. Ball loose, and just behind the net is driven down was Eastwood, so they're going to award that to the Rebels. Good call there.
See the Silvertips bench not happy with their player there. Just a needless play there.
It was just a pointless, lazy move by the Silvertips to keep Rebels possession, as Baker's looking for his way in, and he can't find one. He winds up, though, and just a little floater. I don't think he wanted to injure the Silvertips player there. And now a partial break opportunity for Fuster. Fuster puts it home, extends that lead back to 3, 8-5 Tips lead.
Silvertips with another one in transition. Again, something that they really weren't doing a whole lot of early in the tournament, and it's made a world of difference for them here tonight. They've had a number of looks that way, and a nice hard shot to the short side, sort of in one motion. Kind of leaned to the far side, pulled it back to the short side, used his body to fake out McGilvery in a way, and it's 8-5.
And the Silvertips have been doing a lot in transition in this game, and as the Rebel gets knocked down off ball right off the draw, and I don't think Simonson was too heavy eyeing down whose number that was. So it's going to be awarded to the Rebels, and Scrimshaw brings it in. Passes off to Pook pretty quickly after. Pook cross to Eastwood, and Eastwood dishes off. Now Barrett looking to cut in, finds his way past one, maybe two. He gets a shot off, though, and Pook was looking to get a second chance opportunity, and now Eastwood knocks down a guy in open floor, so that's going to be awarded back to the Silvertips. Silvertips. Mondigan holding it, and a bounce pass for Norris. So Norris streaking in, gets cut off by Zorniak. Now ball in the far side and just thrown out to the center, and that's going to be picked up by the Rebels moving back left to right.
You could hear Darren Beret, head coach, yell aces. All 5 guys run up the floor off of the defense and go up. That's what aces is code for. Usually you'll hear a coach yell that. All their guys off the back gate will run up the floor.
So now the Rebels do retain possession. They had a fresh 30, so they got 20 seconds to work with still on the shot clock. Vetch has it on the far side and dishing across to Walsh. Walsh drives it, fires and scores! Reese Walsh! Wow, what a beauty! Puts them back 8-6.
I don't know where this offensive side to his game has come from with Reese Walsh, but it's been real. Since that Warriors series, game 1, he had a pair of goals. I think he scored again in game 2. I might be mistaken about that, but he has at least a couple in this tournament. He had a huge one the other night. I can't remember against who, but he's been massive. He goes underneath his defender and goes to the short side. Excellent goal.
And Reese Walsh making them count when it matters, as the Rebels going to have another chance at getting hit up high. Nope, there is a penalty coming up, and now Silvertips are just all over Scrimshaw right now, and there is a penalty coming up. I don't know if it's going to be 1 or 2. But right now we're going to play a delayed 6-on-5 as Baker dishing off on the delayed penalty call. Get the extra man out, and Baker with a hard shot that was actually pretty perfectly placed on McGilvery, on McDonough, and Silvertips are going to touch that up, and Rebels are going to head back to power play.
That smashed the post, Keenan, and it rattled the net. That was a hard shot, well placed. It hit sort of like halfway up the bar on that short side. We'll see if the Rebel power play can maintain this momentum they've built sort of since the start of the third.
And Zach Levine is going to head
The other
to
thing I
the
was gonna
box
say,
for slashing.
Oh, sorry. One thing I was going to say is the Silvertips, every time the Rebels have got back within 1 or 2, they've answered back to get up 3. They've done a very good job of responding.
We'll see if this one, though, might kill them. They haven't had kind of a series of plays where they take a penalty shortly after a Rebels goal, so we'll see if that somehow swings in the favor of the Rebels here, as the Silvertips now have it in Rebels territory. Now on the close side boards is Jared Norris. Again, he's been all over the floor tonight. Norris waiting for reinforcements and fakes a pass. Thought he might have fooled somebody, but didn't fool anybody. As Norris makes a pass that was intended for Cullen on the far side back door, and the Rebels are going to pick off that pass. Minute 15 to go in their power play.
Job there by the Rebels, not letting Norris he's been so dangerous all over the floor. Even just having him shoot from where he was, they did a good job of denying that shot attempt.
Baker bounces it a little bit. They got 10 seconds left on their shot clock. They're a little bit slow on this one, but back and forth. Eastwood with a low shot that is going to go wide, and diving for it to try and save it was Baker. And now it's going to be a breakaway opportunity for Mondragon if he can touch it up, and he doesn't touch it before the 30-second shot clock violation.
Yeah, the Rebels, a little bit of an unfortunate sequence of events there. Silvertips almost got a breakaway out of that over and back.
Now the Silvertips holding it is Peterson. Peterson bounce pass cross with Shabak. Now ball finds its way to the far side half boards.
Sorry, Silvertips doing a good job of being patient here, not getting caught back the other way, working the clock.
They're keeping a guy back for the most part and trying to keep 2 guys back, in fact, on this penalty kill opportunity. And the Rebels just fumbling that one, and the ball ends up in the netting. That was a interesting sequence there where the Silvertips retained possession, and I don't know, really. That was just interesting.
Killed a lot of time there, got the loose ball. I know it was lost, but that took away really the remainder of the power play.
As we're back 5-on-5 now, as the Rebels wind and fire, and ball ends up in the netting, so going to be awarded back to the Tips.
Yeah,
Tips moving back right to left.
A little bit of a forced shot there.
Fuster dishes off, and now back to Norris on the close side. Norris cutting in, and he was covered by Walsh, and he goes down, and they're going to award that back to the Rebels.
They got numbers here if they want it.
Now the Rebels want to make something happen fast on this opportunity here, and Walsh gets knocked off his lane and is forced to cut back and makes a pass to no one on the far side, which ends up in a tip stick, but now the Tips fumble it, and the Rebels might be able to mount something back again, as Zorniak had it and bobbled it, and just a couple of bobbles there that end up back in the Silvertip stick, and now they got a fast break the other way. That
was aces again. All 5 guys out the back gate went up. That time it did not work out.
The Silvertips moving around, and as Peterson throws it behind him for Schroeder. Schroeder picks it up on the close side boards, covered by Scrimshaw. Passing off 9 seconds on the shot clock. And now winding, firing, and somehow, I don't know how he placed that, but Adams perfectly placed, and that's a ridiculous goal.
Yeah, that's a tough one if you're a Rebel. Silvertips, you know, I don't know. Did you see how much time was on the shot clock on that?
It was coming down to it, I think. I feel like there was still like double digits, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was like underneath 5, I was about to say good job by the Silvertips of being aware and getting the shot on net. But I mean, if it was up over 10, I would say the opposite. But either way, the Silvertips do a good job of putting it on net. They get one to go.
And they're going to award that to Tyler Montgomery. My apologies, I had that name wrong there. Read the number incorrectly. So the Silvertips are going to gain possession deep in their zone, move it across the center. As now Walker has it and passes it off. And now ball in the far side corner. Now, yet again, the Silvertips back up by a triple, and we've seen this a few times in this game where the Rebels have been able to mount something back, but not quite enough in this do-or-die game. And Norris throws an extra hit after the goal is scored, and the Rebels are going to start converging on him. And there's some words being thrown here, and Norris is going to head to the box here. That was just sloppy by Norris, just as a, like, what was that, just a big FU essentially?
Yeah, I don't know. Like when you're on the floor, there's things that are said. I don't know if that could have been in retaliation to something that was done or said earlier. Uh, but obviously his stick is red hot. He gets another one to go. Um, I don't, I don't really. I wish I could give you a reason for what he did. I can't give you, but he might have a good reason for it. And it looks like Carpenter is going to go into the net for McGilvery.
That is indeed what's happening here. The Rebels are going to look to spark a little bit of life into their team, putting Bowen Carpenter in now, taking the place of McGilvery. And now, Mo, I feel like maybe the Rebels should have went with Carpenter off the start of this game, but what do you feel about them switching it halfway through after McGilvery lets 10 in?
I don't think you can switch out McGilvery after the run they've been on. You got to go with the hand that got you here. Carpenter's a very capable goalie. He went on a really nice run last year. He's been solid for them his whole career as a junior player. But there's no way you could throw Carpenter to the Wolves here to start this game. But, you know, at this point, I think it's a smart move to take Jake out, give him a breather, and let Bowen come in and see what he's able to do.
A good call probably by head coach Darren Beret as we now head into the media break here. Probably a good call by him to try and get a little bit of something going. Now you're down by 4. This is the biggest separation we've had in this contest between the Silvertips and the Rebels. We'll explore Fort Saskatchewan, discover a place where family fun meets opportunity, visit their historic downtown scenic parks and River Valley, work in a thriving community and play where every moment is memorable. Visit, work, and play in Fort Saskatchewan. That Vimy lacrosse excellence is the standard, led by some of the province's most decorated and experienced instructors. They're dedicated to molding well-rounded student athletes. Vimy lacrosse is a fusion of sport, academics, and personal growth. Unleash your potential with Vimy lacrosse and explore the academy at vimyedmonton.ca/lacrosse.
Now, that's not to say that I think it was Bajma who got knocked down or thrown down, deserved that in any way. I just don't want to judge what Norris did because, you know, as a player, I know things get done and said on the floor that we in the stands don't know. Maybe he even did something or said something right before it happened. I don't know. So I'll hold judgment on that, but obviously if you're the Silvertips, you don't want to see your best player go to the box.
Especially a guy who scored, I think, my count, I have 5. He scored half of the Silvertips goals in this game. As player goes down off ball, so they're going to award that to the Rebels. And Rebels don't quite have the numbers moving back that I think they thought they might have, as now Renault cuts in and takes a hard shot that goes wide. A bit of a scrum on the boards for the loose ball, and ball still loose, being knocked out, and stick knocked out of the hands of one of the Tips, but the Tips do retain possession of it, and now being driven in by 2, now 3 defenders is Walker. As Walker now goes hard into the boards, and you know, this I think so far has been actually one of the ugliest games we've seen in this tournament in regards to, you know, heated rivalries.
Yeah, both of these teams are playing, especially in this third. This is, again, the Silvertips are showing a lot of life, and that starts with the leadership, the coaching, some of the leaders, the captains and assistants on the team. That's how you know that they're locked in and motivated.
As the shot clock goes down to 5 for the Rebels, they got to make one happen, and a cut pass by Isaac Nickel. As Nickel is going to get driven hard into the boards on the close side by McAdam, and McAdam knocks it loose, and McAdam is going to have a partial break himself going back, and he just puts it right into the crest of McGilvery. McAdam has had a couple nice goals this tournament, but unfortunately he just doesn't place that one in the proper spot.
Yeah, he was on the wrong side of the floor too. That's a tough shot to make. McDonough, a big guy, takes away a lot of net. That was going to be a very low probability one to go in.
As we now go back 5-on-5, Norris back out of the box as the Rebels regain possession and move it back left to right as Vetch drops it off for Simonson, and Simonson gives it to Pook. Sorry, he did not have it at that moment. That was Barrett that had it behind the net. I totally missed that pass opportunity. As now the ball loose and goes all the way down into Rebels' close side corner. As Carpenter throws a bit of a hit of his own, making his presence known in net. As Zorniak sends it over to Longmire, and Longmire up the close side to McKenzie. McKenzie cross pass finds its way back to McKenzie. Hard shot right into the stick of McDonough. Now ball loose, 3-4 guys on it, and now only about 3, and Bit of a hit thrown on the close side, but the Rebels come away with it as Barrett has it. Barrett, just a floater pass to Pook. Pook being covered, gets some assistance from Eastwood. Eastwood sends it across and finds his way back to Barrett. Barrett bearing in on his defender, trying to push his way back. Eastwood winds, fires low.
Good
Easy
stop.
save for McDonough. But the Rebels retain possession as Eastwood gets another shot that just hits McDonough low. And Eastwood is liking that low shot recently in this contest.
Yeah, you can see McDonough. He's a tall guy. He's doing a good job getting low to the floor, getting his glove on that. Doing a good job taking the far side away.
So now the Tips with it in the center. Schroeder moving it, finds some open spot and sends one that goes high and wide, and it's going to be picked up by Norris. As Norris brings it in behind the back shot that Carpenter makes a save on. I think that's the first save of this contest for him now.
Yeah, it might be.
As now Rebels mounting something back left to right. They got just under 6 minutes to mount 4-goal comeback at least.
I would say next possession you start pulling your goalie.
If the Rebels don't get this next one and they get it fast, I feel like the Silvertips may have this one pretty much in hand. As a hard shot, nice save by McDonough. McDonough playing some of his best, one of his best games of this tournament.
And oddly enough, this game means more to both the Mavericks and the Blizzard, because not only would a Silvertip win put the Blizzard into the final tomorrow, but a Silvertip win makes the Mavericks your Alberta rep at the Founders Cup here.
As now we're getting a couple of extra shots being thrown here, and there's Norris throws one on net, and he's shoved in, and now we're going to have some pushing and shoving here as guys aren't liking what they're seeing. Carpenter, he's just staying with Norris, throwing some words at him, I think. And we're going to have a bit of a heated back and forth pushing and shoving, and we'll see if anything comes out of this. I'm sure there'll be a couple guys to the box, and I don't know what Shabak is signaling to, but there's going to be a couple guys heading to the box, it looks like.
Some frustration by the Rebels, and obviously not what you want if you're Darren Bray and that bench, Ethan Peterson.
So far, it looks like there's only one guy who's headed to the box, and that guy is Rylan Walsh of the Rebels. I don't know what Walsh did that was worse than the rest of the guys, but he's going to sit for 2 in the sin bin. I'm giving him 2 for roughing, actually.
It's frustration is a natural response. And these guys, obviously, both teams would be dead tired at this point in the tournament. One team's winning, though, and playing with nothing to lose, and the other one has everything to lose and is losing. So, yeah, I think you could figure out who's going to be more frustrated than the other.
The Silvertips now with a 2-minute possession with just over 5 to go, 2-minute power play with just over 5 to go, which almost all but dampers the rest of the comeback opportunity the Rebels may have had in this contest. So now the Rebels are going to gain the ball behind Silvertips net, short-handed. Making a couple little spin moves is Barrett, and Barrett's going to send it on the close side to Simonson. Simonson, back and forth a few times, winds, fires, hits somebody in front. And that Silvertip will pick it up of Cam Fuster. Fuster taking some shots from Eastwood, ball knocked loose, and ends up with Carpenter. Now we got a scrap! We got a scrap, which I don't actually feel like was any sort of scrap. I feel like Davin Bajma kind of just grabbed Norris and started throwing some punches. As Bajma, he wants more. He's livid. He wants more of Norris. Is this referee Bajma signaling, you're small, you're tiny. Holy crap, that was, I did not expect that one.
I mean, I think that goes back to Norris running over Bajma after that goal. I think obviously that's where you draw the line back to. Bajma down 4. Really not much to say. Like, losing, he lost his cool there.
Just frustrations boiling over at this point. And I mean, interesting to note though, I wouldn't have taken Game 10, the Rebels and the Silvertips, as being the first game to have a fight in this tournament.
No, but oftentimes that's what happens at the end of a tournament when both teams, right now, that's what would be the case with both teams being done for the season. Sometimes, you know, that spark lights and it's hard to sort of diffuse, but by what Bajima did, he sort of gave Norris what he wanted, got the attention, and he knows he's livid. Norris, why would Norris fight him? I know I get what Bajima's going through, but why would Norris fight him? It's just not a smart thing to be doing.
Well, they're definitely. I don't think they gave. Did they give Norris a penalty there? I don't think they did. It looked like they only signaled the 5 and 10 to Bajima.
I think he's in the box. Maybe not.
In arena, they're not announcing any penalty to Norris.
No, but he disappeared off the floor. Maybe he went back to the bench. I didn't see. He's not on the floor right now.
If anything, I would say Tyler Waycott's going to tell him, settle down a little bit and take a seat for a few. The Rebels are going to send Teach Brown over to the box to serve that penalty. I mean, it's kind of pointless to serve that penalty with 4:34 left in this game, but, I mean, understandable so. The Silvertips now with a 5-on-3 opportunity to basically put this game out of reach, and winding and firing that one with Schroeder. Now ball is going to go all the way down to Caden McDonough, who's played the most stellar game he has so far of this tournament. It comes at a time that the Rebels wish it didn't. So Rebels with possession now. The close side. Eastwood runs it back, checks the clock, sees how much time he's got left. Eastwood over to Baker. Baker, hard shot that hits somebody in front, and a couple extra shots being thrown out. Seeing that little extra shot there wouldn't surprise me if something else comes out of this game fight-wise.
Yeah, 3 and change left here. It'd be very tough to imagine the Rebels coming back here. And I don't know. It's always open for extracurricular activity. You never know.
As the Silvertips with a hard shot, and Carpenter overcommitted to that one. And nice job though by the Rebels defense to keep the Silvertips offense from gaining possession of that. The Scrimshaw brings it across, and he takes a couple shots here, and he takes a high shot, and we might have something boiling over there. Scrimshaw's going to take a penalty, and the Rebels fans are letting the refs have it. Scrimshaw just goes to the bench. He's not listening to the ref. He doesn't care.
Yeah, the Rebels unraveling here a little bit. This isn't ever a fun time to be a commentator. There's not much to say. One team is frustrated. The Silvertips, full marks. They've played their best game of the tournament. And again, I go back to the coaching staff. I think they are clearly have the room. They knew what buttons to press. They knew how to get them motivated.
They're throwing them out of this game. They just threw out Scrimshaw.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
What was that? Would that be game misconduct on that one?
It looks like it, yeah. Yeah, he got a 10.
Yeah. They're letting somebody out of the box now. They're letting Rylan Walsh out of the box now. I don't know why, but definitely an interesting turn of events here. And a very eventful final 5 minutes of this contest.
So it'd be a penalty shot here.
Oh, you're right here.
There's already 2 guys in the box. The third guy results in a penalty shot.
I don't quite see who's taking this penalty shot for the Silvertips. I can't quite catch a number on that one. Looks like 7, so it looks like it's going to be Norris. Oh no, 17, sorry. So this is going to be Chase Twight taking this penalty shot. And he rips it home, and that will seal the deal for the Tips.
Yeah, the Silvertips are able to capitalize on the penalty shot. They are jacked up. You can't tell me this game didn't matter to them. And they did a good job of showing up here, right? Look, all these teams this week or this weekend are very, very close, razor-thin margins all the way around. If you play this tournament 10 times, you might have each team win twice. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the Rebels knew this was going to be difficult. The Silvertips have just been a little bit better here in this game. That's all you could say.
As the Rebels gain possession off it, as their season's going to come to a close, and there's a couple extra shots being thrown, and I don't know if nothing's going to come of that one, but I definitely agree. If you play this tournament over and over again, and there's going to be a penalty called here, as Cole Twite throws to the ground Fraser Barrett. He's going to take a 5-minute, it looks like there. Just signaled.
Yeah. At this point, it's academic. I mean, whatever they're going to give, they're going to give. It's not going to have any impact on the outcome.
Yeah, they're throwing an elbowing on it, which is why it's 5.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's understandable, though. I mean, you don't want this game to get too much further out of hand.
Anything like that, you got to crack down on as official.
Absolutely. It's the Rebels. Well, they had possession of it and kind of just threw it out to nobody. It's Christian DeGroot was going for that, but the Rebels do pick it up and steps over the line, and that's going to be an over and back as Carpenter is going to get back as fast as he can, but I don't know if he's going to beat him. And throwing a hard hit, and we're going to have some extracurriculars now as all the referees are trying to get in there, and we're going to have some fisticuffs potentially. As if ref number 94 here will let him go, they are going to go at it, and they're throwing words back and forth, and ref is throwing him out. Well, at least a penalty, so I feel like the last 2.5 minutes of this game feels like an NBA last 1 minute. Like, it just drags on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I mean, it's I don't want to say it's all for show, because, I mean, these two teams are obviously frustrated. You got a team that's been out since yesterday. You got a team who had to win, and they're going to be out. So how funny would it be if these two guys just dropped the gloves right now, right here in front of the referees?
Yeah, I don't anticipate that. I know McAdam pretty well. I would be shocked if he fought, but I don't know.
Now some fans here leaning over the glass, throwing some.
I think they're having cordial words. I don't think those two are at odds.
No, they're both assistant captains. They're just, well, I don't know if McAdam is. He doesn't have the A on him. I thought he wore it a couple times this year, but they're just having a little discussion here. So I don't know what the referees are discussing. Probably discussing if they just want to, what they want to throw. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if they're ejecting, who they're ejecting or what they're doing. It's semantics at this point.
I mean, you're a referee. If you were reffing this game right now, what would you say they're probably discussing right now?
Well, I mean, probably who they're ejecting and what they're writing, or what they're sort of determining what infraction they, you know, like with Eastwoods, you could call it roughing, you could call it interference. There's 239. So maybe they're figuring out a way that you could call it, you know, in a way that gives him a major and he's out automatically. I don't know. Like, it's sometimes it's an art.
It looks like Nolan Eastwood is heading off. Yeah, he's bleeding good though. He's bleeding from just under the eye, it looked like.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we do want to thank you for tuning in all season long to CROW LAX TV. My name is Keenan, bringing you all the action from here inside Genesis Place for game number 10 of this round robin. My broadcast partner, Mohamed Joma, on color commentary.
Yeah, so they gave him a 5-minute high stick, so obviously he's ejected. They said a game ejection. There's less than 5 minutes left, so.
I mean, I think that's pretty standard, though, across, like, lacrosse, hockey. If there's less than 5, you take a 5, you're just ejected. So But thank you for tuning in all season long to CROW LAX TV. We got one more game for you broadcasted this year, and that is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be the championship game that at this point I think is all but official of the Blizz versus the Mavs. A game we just saw with the Blizz taking the victory by a single goal, which means the Mavericks will have secured their spot in the Founders Cup for a team only in their 7th calendar year of Tier 1. And taking a penalty shot here is going to be Joshua Brunton for the Silvertips. Nice save by Carpenter. That, I mean, keeps this an 11-6 game, 5-goal differential here, but nice job by Carpenter to say, nah, I'm not letting you get any more on me.
Yeah, Carpenter stepping in, never easy to do off the bench. Nice save there. Guy changed it up on him, threw a shot from outside the dotted line on a penalty shot. Don't see that very often. Carpenter handled it pretty easily.
So we're going to get set for action again. We got 3 penalties on the board right now. A 4:43 left in a penalty to the Silvertips, and then 3:06 and a 5 to the Rebels, with 2:39 to play here in the third. Couple of fireworks here as this has been a long last 2.5 minutes of this game. Now McAdam is going to bring this one in. McAdam covered and gets a shot over DeGroot and saved by McDonough. He's going to pass it off to DeGroot, and they're going to move it back right to left. Couple of passes around. Ends with Shabak as Shabak takes the thing, and Johnson throws thing, and just sniping it is Dunbar Corenda. And Dunbar Corenda and McBride kind of had a couple of words there, and Dunbar Corenda puts this game 12-6.
Yeah, the only thing left to be determined here is the final score. Another one by the Silvertips, sort of in transition, right? Sort of a long outside look, just gets hammered home into the top part of the net. Silvertips with a lot of juice tonight, eh? Again,
absolutely they are.
They deserve the credit.
We're playing a bit of 4-on-3, and I mean the open floor definitely probably helps here. Playing a 4-on-3 like this.
Yeah.
Now DeGroot passes it off, and the Silvertips are just going to try and kill some clock here. Try and get out of this, the rest of this unscathed, I think. Passes off to Peterson. Peterson had McBride bearing down on him, takes a shot. It hit. I think that hit McAdam. And McBride is just all over these guys down low here. And there's one Silvertip and one Rebel way down in the Silvertips zone. As now Carpenter's going to head to the bench. 6 goals in a minute and a half. Don't know if that's possible, but you might as well try and make a comeback somehow. So the Rebels bring it in.
You know, the word miracle gets thrown around a lot, but that would be an actual miracle. If you saw a lacrosse team score 6 goals in the last minute 20 to tie a game, that would be a miracle.
I don't feel like it's impossible, but pretty damn hard to do as ball loose in the crease, and they're going to say he stepped in and awarded to Silvertips.
I honestly think it's never been done.
And 2 chances the Silvertips just blew.
I don't really know why the Silvertips are still trying to score. But hey, there's clear bad blood here, so it doesn't surprise me that they are.
It's weird to say bad blood between a team who's in the north and the central, because you know these teams don't really see each other very often. As Carpenter makes another nice save, but these two teams don't really see each other very much, so it makes you wonder, does that almost spark a little bit more bad blood because you're not seeing each other 3-4 times a year?
I don't think. I think it's just the situation. That the
situational of team out and a team who's about to be out. Vetch is throwing some extra shots at Dunbar Corenda.
The game is played out too, I
don't think anything's going to come of it, but Dunbar Corenda was just letting Vetch do it, probably assumedly to try and draw a penalty here, but Dunbar Corenda going to get it restarted for the Tips with 30 seconds to go.
See, this is where I would have told my guys to go back into the zone.
As now McBride throwing some shots, and Carpenter had almost all of it, but the Tips are going to score one with 21 seconds left, 13-6. And you know what's funny, just while I'm thinking of this, it's 13-6. This officially means the Silvertips have scored the most goals in a single game of any team in any game this tournament.
Yeah, it's been a really tight week, and I mean, again, they're not shy right now. They're adding and they're piling on. Usually, like, I know when I'm coaching, I always tell my guys in a situation like, especially like risking injury and stuff, like backpedal, go into your own zone. I'm surprised they're pushing it like they are.
They're also giving McBride two for roughing, it looks like. I mean, I think at this point the referees just don't want this to get more out of hand than it already has been. Like, that's got to be what it is now.
I think you're going to see another penalty shot here.
We get one more penalty shot here with 21 seconds to go. And Cole Peterson is going to take this one for the Silvertips, and he's going to get stonewalled by Bowen Carpenter. So good job by Carpenter to keep this. I mean, I would say it's a good job by him to keep this a 13-6 game, but I mean, when it's that far out of reach, I mean, there's nothing you can really do.
I don't know even know
Lost for words. Lost for words. In a game that the Rebels had to win.
I've said a lot over the course of the year on the podcast, you know, talking to teams on broadcasts all weekend. I've said a lot. There's nothing to say right now. Nothing. I have got nothing for you.
The Silvertips were awarded that ball, and a lot of disgruntled Rebels fans in the stands letting the refs have it, what they think. And Silvertips are just going to pass this round and kill off the rest of the clock. And that's going to do it for game number 10 of the round robin. Final score, Silvertips 13, Rebels 6. Which means your final tomorrow for the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup will be the Winnipeg Blizzard versus the Mountain View Mavericks, which in turn means the Mavericks have secured their spot in the Founders Cup.
Yeah, congratulations to the Mountain View Mavericks. You know, I know that we have a tenuous relationship as but
I mean, that's one way to describe it.
You know what, but I think I've been pretty clear on that. I have believed in that team. I give them plenty of accolades. The stuff with the chill, you know what, it would have been the same. It would have been the same with any other team. I was just recapping what happened. And I even said if that goes back to Mountain View for the third game, they probably win. They were so good at home all year. They've come with their best in this tournament. Swan has been great all weekend long. They've played to their identity, which is transition. They beat the Shamrocks solely off of it, and Swan. They're fully deserving. They've built a very good program. So congratulations to the Mountain View team on their Founders Cup berth.
Yeah, definitely congratulations to the Mountain View Mavericks as we'll get the handshake line here, and then momentarily the August Electronics players of the game. Quite the cheers coming from the Rebels fans here, congratulating the Rebels on such a successful season that unfortunately just ends in heartbreak here.
Yeah, no, this game got kind of ugly late, but it shouldn't take away from what the Rebels have done this season. You know, they go through and win the North, overcoming the Warrior hurdle having lost the last 2 years. That was big. They come within one game of the final this year. Still, I would say a somewhat young team. They're going to have a lot of core pieces back next year when they host this very same Larry Bishop Memorial. They're a team that has so much effort to their game. so much passion, and they deserve a lot of credit for what the 24 season that they had.
Absolutely, and it's one that didn't come without adversity, that's for sure. I mean, started their season, I believe, like 1-6 or something like that, and found their way all the way into a do-or-die game in the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup.
Yeah, no, I think it might have been 1-3, or 1-4, something like that. But yeah, they definitely didn't have the greatest start. They had a tough trip out east, sort of regrouped that. They got healthier as the season went along. That made a difference. And, again, the Silvertips came in clearly with their mind made up that they wanted to end the season a certain way, and they did so. So they deserve a lot of credit as well. And I touched on it during the game. Credit to their coaching staff for getting their players ready and locked in. And also, I want to thank the Silvertip organization for, again, I've said this a couple of times today, but for what's been a very well organized and put on tournament.
It's been a very good tournament, and for a place where the Silvertips have just moved to Airdrie, and I mean, they'd only played, I think, 3 total games, 4 or 5 maybe, total games in here ahead of the Larry Bishop, so we'll head down to floor level where we will be presenting the Jackson Porter August Electronics Player of the Game Awards to the Tips and the Rebels.
Blizzard, by the way, make their fifth appearance in the RMLL championship game. That's by far the most over the last number of years.
And now, for the Jackson Porter Players of the Game, presented by August Electronics. From the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels, number 9, Ryan McBride.
And Ryan McBride gets Player of the Game for the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels.
Yeah, McBride graduates out. He spent his time last year with the CROW, moves over to the Rebels after I think he was let go by the CROW. Might have been a trade, actually, for a mid-round pick, but he ends his junior career with an award.
And as expected, Jared Norris gets Player of the Game for the Silvertips after, I think, 5-6 goals in this game.
Yeah, when shooters get dialed in like Norris, they're very difficult to stop. He obviously had his best game of the tournament. Again, his shot, he changed it up a little bit, varied it up, and he was rewarded with a huge game.
Well, thank you for tuning in to CROW LAX TV for the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup Round Robin. Just a reminder, tomorrow, 1 p.m. start time, the Winnipeg Blizzard versus the Mountain View Mavericks for the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup. And I believe we will have a pregame show for you starting at noon. So be sure to tune in. That is noon Mountain Time tomorrow right here on CROW LAX TV. For my broadcast partner, Mohammed Joma, my name is Keenan, signing off. And thank you for tuning in.